the fun stuff tonight, which is fun. I like it. Okay, cool. All right, so what are our 3 outcomes for our office? Someone tell me the first one. Nathaniel. Student development. I love it. I know his name's not Nathaniel. It's really fine. What's our second one? Contact investment. Third one? Field impact. Okay, I love it. So, and what's our mission statement for the missions in our office?
Short-term investment in long-term kingdom.
Wow, I love this over here. All my staffers. That's great. Yeah. So really, good missiology looks like building into something that's going to outlast us, right? Everything we do is about being strategic. It's about building on what the Lord is already doing in a city, already doing in a nation, and coming alongside that work and being a support and encouragement to that. So that's all contact investment is. It is being like the picture of Moses, right, where he was like lifting up his arms. He's tired, like he's been doing this all day, and he had people come and lift up his arms. That's what you guys are doing for your contacts. Like that's the picture we want to have. We always want to be a blessing and not a burden to our contacts. So couple ways to do that. So I'm going to split it into 3 parts. So it's going to be fast because then Skook is going to talk about the money, and it's going to be awesome. But ways to invest in your contact before the trip is the first thing we'll talk about. Contact investment during your trip, and contact investment after your trip. Okay, so 2 ways to invest in your contact before the trip. None of this is rocket science, right? Number 1, learn about them. Who are they? They are people. They are people. They are people who have personalities, they have families, they have dreams, they have hopes, they have fears. Some of them are great at leading teams. They've been leading them for years. Some of this will be their first time they're ever leading a team. And they're people that you're going to want to get to know. Sometimes ministry can feel very abstract. You're like, all right, I'm going to Scotland. Yeah, you're going to Scotland, but really you're going to serve Destiny Church. But really you're going to serve Pastor Phil. And Pastor Phil has a wife and 2 kids. So who is Pastor Phil and his family? So if you guys know a little bit about who you're going to go work with before you go, you just have, it's a blessing to them. It's so nice when someone meets me and they know a little bit about who I am versus me being like, yeah, okay, my name's Allie, this is my husband, blah, blah, blah. Like it shows intentionality, it shows interest, and you guys, it doesn't take a lot of time. So your MCs know your contacts because they've been talking to them a lot, like a lot. And they can tell you stuff, and we live in an age where you can go find them on social media probably pretty easy. So number 1, learn about them. And then number 2, research the country and the ministry. Okay? You don't have to take 5 hours to do this. A quick Google search for 10 minutes, you can find out a lot about the nation or the city that you're going to go serve. But you guys, it says so much to our contacts when we don't come in blind. Okay? I was literally just in Kenya last week. So I went to Kenya, was visiting our contacts there at ICC. I was talking with Stella. She's the one who we plan our mission trips with. And I was just asking her, I was like, hey, like, what's helpful for you, for the team? Like, what do they need to prepare? All of this stuff. The things that she told me was like, hey, if they could research about Nairobi before they come, that would be really helpful. Because sometimes we have teams, and she didn't necessarily mean like our teams, but they host teams all the time. She's like, sometimes we have teams who come in, and they don't know anything about our country. They don't know anything about our culture. They think we're so behind the times, but like Nairobi's this huge urban city. Like they have so much going on. She's like, frankly, it's a little insulting sometimes because they don't know anything about us, but they come in expecting to like make this huge impact, but they don't even know who we are. So it's like, research your country just a little bit. Research the ministry. What's the ministry like? What's their history? What have they been going through? Again, just because I just was in Kenya, like sometimes we don't know the most basic things. So Kenya was colonized by England, and so they have a lot of British culture in Nairobi, right? They drive on the left side of the road. Well, that's a shock if you didn't know that. But again, if you research for 10 minutes, then you're not going to land after you've been flying for 36 hours and your filter's kind of off. And you're like, oh my gosh, you're driving on the wrong side of the road. Like, well, that's a great first impression, but you're going to have a team member who's going to say that if they don't know ahead of time. So trust me, they will. So just research a little bit. It will behoove you greatly. Okay, so that's 2 ways to love on your contact before you get there. Now, how to do contact investment during your trip. Number 1, have a learner's mentality. Okay, learner's mentality. You are a visitor in their home. You're a visitor in their ministry, visitor in their country. The best posture you can have is one of humility and teachability. If you come as a learner, you will leave as a better leader, okay? 100%. And if you have that learner's mentality, it's going to trickle down to your members as well. So that includes, culturally, with their ministry, what their ministry methods, we'll talk about that in a second, but just don't assume that you know everything that's happening in that country, even if you've been there before, or even if you're familiar with the ministry that you're working with. Every place is going to be so different, so come in as a learner. Number 2, ask what they need, don't assume you know. Ask what they need, don't assume you know. Bless you. Things that we might consider really important in the Western church might be very low on their list of priorities. So sometimes we come into a place and we're like, oh my gosh, like the paint's chipping off the walls, or these kids are running around, there's no system for taking attendance, or whatever it is, and they might be like, no, like this is how we do things, like this is fine. So don't waste time and energy trying to solve problems that they don't want solved. Ask what they need, and then fill that need the best that you can. All right, number 3, respect their culture and their ministry methods. Respect their culture and their ministry methods. Because really effective ministry strategies look different in different spaces, right? Again, what works well in one church in the U.S. doesn't work well in another church in the U.S. So how much more is, ministry look different in Brazil than ministry in, I'm thinking of all our Asian countries that we're not going to this year, but it's totally fine. Ministry is different in Panama, okay? So just because we do things here a certain way, or your home church, or ORU, or whatever, doesn't mean that's the way that they're going to do things. And again, it's not about systems. It's not about what's better or what's worse. It's about how can we serve their vision. You're not there to implement your vision. You're not there to implement everything you learned in your ministry and leadership class or what you've been doing at your internship at church. Like, all that's awesome, but we're there to serve their mission and their vision. So keep that learner's mentality and contextualize. We'll talk about contextualization a lot as we go on and with ropes, but contextualize for their ministry context. And then, of course, respect their culture. Guys, that's like part of the best part of missions, right? Is you get to learn about another person's culture. You get to see Jesus in another culture. And I absolutely love that. It's my favorite thing about missions, my favorite thing about traveling. But a lot of times when we're in a place for a short term, like a short amount of time, we catch about 5% of what's happening culturally. The rest goes over our heads. And that's okay, right? Like you're not from that culture. You don't know that country. But sometimes we pick out 1 or 2 things and we get really fixated on that. We get really nitpicky on that. But there's 25 other things happening that we're not aware of, but we get so caught up in little things. So just kind of have that mentality of like, man, my contact knows what's going on. I can trust them. And if I have questions, a lot of them are going to want to talk and dialogue with you, but don't get caught up in cultural differences. Like, celebrate those differences and partner with what the contact is doing. Okay. Number 4, be a blessing, not a burden. Be a blessing, not a burden. What are some ways that you guys can be a blessing to your contact? Shout it out. Do the dishes. I love it. Yes. Cooking for a group of people is hard. It's very hard. What else? How can you be a blessing? Be punctual. Great. Or maybe not be punctual if the culture isn't quite as punctual. They'll be quite worried about time. Either way, it's good. What else? Leaving things better than we found them. I see you, Lucia. I love it. I love it. Yeah? Showing thankfulness, yes. I literally put on here, don't whine, okay? I don't know if you guys have ever been around people who are just constantly complaining about stuff, but that sucks. So please don't be that team for a month that it's too hot. We don't like the food. Our beds aren't comfortable. This isn't how we do it back home. Like, have an attitude that is thankful, that is gratitude. Like, they are giving up 2 weeks or a month to host you guys. That's a lot on a person, okay? And we leave sometimes and contacts are like, yes, that was the best, most encouraging team. We're so grateful for them. And then sometimes we've had teams where our contacts have been honest, being like, they were a little bit hard because everything was a struggle. So don't be that team. Be that team who is a blessing to your contact, okay? I just put on here, trust your contact. They know way better than you do, way better than we do, because again, they live there. They're working in that context day in and day out. Now, if they say leave the backpack, don't trust them there. Like, keep the backpack with you. But like 99% of the time, you can trust what they're saying because they do know. And we've been working with them probably for years. We have very few first-time contacts. Okay, ways to invest after the trip. 2 quick things. Number 1, pray for them. I feel like once you have somebody, once you have their face, once you have their name, once you have their ministry, like they're in your heart forever, and like pray for them. And again, we go back to these people year after year after year after year after year. And so like the legacy of that, guys, is so cool. Like it's so beautiful. And I love it when like a team, you know, like teams from last year will be like, hey, tell this translator hi for us. Tell this contact hi for us. Like I'm going to send this with you. Like we have that happen because they build relationship. So pray for your contact and then stay connected via social media. Guys, I went to Chile 9 years ago. I'm still friends with my translator on Instagram and Facebook, and I like see her life. And it's so cool. Like it's so, so cool. I love that. So just know that your contacts, they're not islands. We build these bridges every year. We want to keep building these bridges, and you guys are the bridge builders for this year. So how you interact with your contact is setting up next year already, okay? It's going to be great. Our contacts are awesome. Like they're the best. Literally, I was just in Kenya. Our contact was so cool. I was like, oh, I wish I could hang out with you like more because this is just awesome. So, AJ and Tristan, I just love it. I'm so excited for you guys.